European Series.
How do you assess the success of a fight night? Obviously, there's so many moving parts. There's the quality of the fights, there's the size of the crowd, the atmosphere, the gate receipts, all of that sort of stuff. So, taking all that into account, how would you grade how the night went?
Well, I think just sitting cage side tonight, it felt fantastic. I think we had some amazing fights, some great stars. Exactly what we wanted to do with Bellator in Europe and here in London, to have all those great names on the card, I think was fantastic. Obviously, there's the sort of metrics that come in after the fact, viewing figures and things like that. We obviously did something quite unique with the broadcasts tonight as well, which I'm looking forward to seeing how that did. Just trying to push forward, I think. But all in all, I think some of the fights tonight were just unbelievable, and that's what's hard to get.
There were a lot of complaints online about the way the card ran. How do you think?
In terms of
on television.
Oops. In what particular would you?
Well, people were just complaining about the fact they had to switch over from the app and then to Sky Sports and then to Channel 5. How do you think? How do you think the networks are handling?
Well, I think there's always going to be people who aren't getting what they want or what they think they want. I think the difficulty is what we brought in tonight was a main card from Paramount to Zone, and then we did our European Series on Channel 5. I think if you look back in the past at what we've done with Bellator, this was still a step forward. We managed to put 2 fights on live from that Paramount to Zone card into the UK live between 9 and 10 on Sky, and it was a fantastic fight with Daly. And then we had our European fight on 5. So we had 5 live fights on TV, which I think is something to be happy about from British and Irish MMA and European MMA.
I think with the complaints that I saw online, they were more about. I think the problem that you kind of had was the makeup of the card in America was different to the makeup of the card over here.
Yeah.
So what you had with the delayed broadcast, you had those 3 prelim fights, which were the top of the prelim card. They were being sort of held back for the Zone, but there was no way for the European fans to watch those 3 fights, which were all significant fights for the region. There was no live option for those on the Bellator app, even if it was sort of geo-restricted to us guys over here. So is that a little wrinkle that could potentially be ironed out for future shows?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what you've got to appreciate as well, in this country, there's a watershed at 9 p.m, so you can't put MMA on TV before 9 p.m.
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
exactly.
I meant extending the app window. So
I take your point. I take your point. But all of those things put into place, the watershed and everything else, you can only do so much, certainly on live TV. And I think, as much as I'd like to focus on the positives, I think, putting a live show on Sky Sports with 2 live fights, a live on, a free-to-air main terrestrial channel on Channel 5 with 3 main fights on a Saturday night, I think is something to be applauded and is the right step forward. Granted, there's things we can look at and things we can do, and things like Fabian coming onto the Paramount to Zone card late in the day. That, of course, it's not going to keep everyone happy. I'm sure we're going to get to see the fights, Sky VOD, places like that. But there's little things we'd like to look at. But all in all, I think if you look at where perhaps Bellator was maybe 2 or 3 years ago and where we are now, I'd like to think it's a major step forward.
Definitely, I would agree with that. I mean, in terms of the stars that are being built here, you're sort of responsible for the European side of this. So, from your perspective, I mean, who were the standout performers for you and people that you're going to be looking to sort of put the rocket boosters on and really get them build their star in future European Series shows?
There's so much to pick from tonight. I think I think it was nice to see, Aaron getting back to winning ways. He was, I think he took a lot of pressure in Newcastle. So to see him, he seems really relaxed tonight, and that was good for him. But then again, just seeing, I just had such a fun night with people like seeing Daly back when. I mean, that fight was just unbelievable. I mean, I think it's just extraordinary. I mean, Eric Silva, wherever he is, someone needs to buy him a beer tonight. I think for nothing else, for such a brave performance. And then just seeing someone like Kent fighting Melvin Manhoff, in London was exactly what the sort of thing we want. Guys coming up through the ranks, but also, the big stars coming in.
You have a rising star in James Gallagher. He said tonight it was the Jimmy Show. So you've just announced Bellator Dublin. Is it safe to say he will be on that card? Can you say who is going to be on that card? Or what will that be now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're on sale Friday. Bellator Dublin, 27th of September, and James is a huge part of that program. He came through tonight. I think it was a tricky fight for him. Obviously, a big step up from maybe the Stephen Graham fight in Dublin in February. And Jeremiah came to win tonight, and that was a really close fight. And I think he's going to have tough nights like that. But I still think we saw that character come through. And you know, there is something about him. People love watching him, whether you like him or hate him. And I think most people liked him in there tonight. The noise behind James tonight was fantastic. So you know, I think he's pretty much got through that without any issues. So I think it's a good chance we'll see him in the Dublin card. We'll announce more of that in the next few days.
There's a lot of British talent on your roster right now. We expected to see a couple more shows in the UK by the end of the year.
Absolutely, yeah. We committed to 6 this year. Obviously UK and Europe, but you know, this first year was always going to be more UK and Ireland, I'd say. We're third one in. Dublin will be the 4th, so you'll see another 2 at least before the end of the year, and then hopefully we'll be moving on up next year.
Any target cities you're considering? Newcastle perhaps return there?
Well, I think it's nice to go back to places you've established a following. It was a great place to start the whole adventure at the beginning of this year. We had a great crowd. We've got some great fighters from the northeast. So you know, we certainly sustain a card in Newcastle. I like going back up there, get to see the family, 2 birds in one stone, and so that's great. But then you know, we're looking to, you know, Dublin obviously is a firm fixture, and we're looking to near Europe soon, you know, so there's going to be some interesting new dates. So you'll see some of the older places we've been to back to London at some point as well, so soon to come out.
We had, of course, a lot of Dutch fighters on this card, and there was talk about, you know, Amsterdam. Melvin obviously wants to have his last fight there. Is there any more information that you can perhaps be giving us about Bellator coming to Amsterdam anytime soon?
Yeah, well, it was very much a Dutch card tonight. We saw, you know, 4 or 5 guys, and it was amazing support as well, which was lovely to hear in the arena. I think we would dearly love to have an event in Amsterdam. We've got the fighters, we've got the, you know, the resources to do it. I think there's a few regulatory issues in Amsterdam, and they just need to be smoothed out, hopefully. I mean, we've seen events in Rotterdam and stuff, but I think, you know, Holland's, you know, it's got such a history for martial arts, and with the guys we've got on the roster, it makes absolute sense to go there. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll work it all out and be there sooner rather than later.
It will be a full sellout. David, congratulations on a beautiful fight, a nice fight. The only European Bellator champion lost his title. Do you think he deserves an immediate rematch?
It's a tricky one, you know. I think most people had it 2 rounds each going into the 5th round, so you know, I think it was really close. I mean, one of the judges scored it a draw, so you know, you'd say he definitely would deserve it, but I'll regroup with the guys and see where that puts us. But it was just really good to see, you know, a legitimate world title played out on these shores and on British TV, featuring a guy from Holland, which was good.
Yeah, and then quickly last thing for me, Costello van Steenis. He had a beautiful performance. Do you think he needs to step up in competition now?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, that was a fascinating fight. I think, you know, Mike Shipman, I've been watching him for years. He's a huge talent, and for him to take care of him in the way he did, I think, you know, he's just really announced himself tonight. I think, you know, we'll see great things from him. He looked really, really impressive.
Been talking about potentially going to the Netherlands, maybe Amsterdam, if you can iron out the regulatory issues. We just had Melvin in. I don't know if you were in the back of the room when he was doing the scrum.
I just missed it, actually.
Okay, so you missed him saying that he would love to fight Wanderlei Silva or Fedor in the main event in Amsterdam. Now you're smiling right now, so is that something that, I mean, I can imagine as a promoter that's a fight you would love to put on for the Dutch crowd. Is that a feasible possibility?
Well, you know, speak to Mr. Coker, everything's feasible. So yeah, he'll be into it. He gets very excited about fights like that, as do we all. So, you know, and if anyone's going to put that sort of card together, be him. I think first we have to get set Melvin on to the authorities over there. Maybe they can sort that out themselves first. But yeah, I mean, look, if we go to Amsterdam, Holland, very soon, it won't be a toe in the water. It'll be a big move there.
David, we had Paul Daly in here earlier today. He's reached 65 and he personally said he wants a fight in Nottingham. Nottingham's crying out for an event, Leeds up in Yorkshire, they're crying out for events. Are we going to take Bellator up there anytime soon?
Yeah, I think we're looking at all the cities. You know, we've said that we'd love to go to. You know, we've already been to 3. You know, Nottingham's an obvious one. Apart from if they could make it a bit warmer in that arena with the ice rink, we've done that before, and it's cool. But I think, you know, Paul loves fighting over here, and it'd be great to have him fight in his hometown. Why not?
Just get going on Paul. Paul had his 60th career. You've worked with Paul through BAMMA and Bellator now. What's it like seeing, you know, and working with him as a fighter and an individual?
Well, I just think Paul's really mature, and I think, you know, he seems to be enjoying himself a bit more now. I mean, he had a frustration with the MVP fight earlier in the year, but we put him on as a pundit for the last fight, and I thought he did very well. Well received. He didn't swear, which was nice. And you know, for me as a fighter, he just puts the hairs on the back of your neck up. He's the sort of guy who almost always delivers, you know, and tonight was no exception. I mean, it's just an absolutely fantastic fight. So, you know, to think he's been doing 60 fights is unbelievable, and, you know, long may it continue.
Hi, David. Obviously, we just mentioned that the final European champion has now been dethroned. It's amazing that you brought a title fight to the UK for us all to witness here as well. Is this something you'll still do in the future with your American competitors, bring them to the UK to compete, or will that be predominantly in the States?
No, absolutely. I think the model you saw tonight will continue. We'll be bringing big fights, big stars, and definitely title fights back over into Europe.
Because like we had Brent Primus at Birmingham, you know, massive name.
Pitbull in Newcastle,
yeah,
fighting Ryan Scope. I think he deserves a rematch.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
Cheers, David.
Back to Amsterdam, it's always very quick this year.
I don't think it'll be this year, if I'm honest, just from the hoops we've got to jump through. But hopefully very soon.
2020.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming tonight. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.